videos we've looked at the benefits of strengthening our ability to create. But in this video we're going to focus on how we become more creative. Now, everyone is born creative and we all have innate levels of creativity, like we have other talents and abilities. And so when people say that they're not creative, that is a belief that they've built up over time. Now, as a baby, we all had access to creative thoughts. We created sounds as we learnt language, and we created toys with our toes as we learned about our bodies. Then as we grew up through childhood and into adulthood, we took on the beliefs and attitudes of the people around us, in our family and in our culture. And we might have heard things like, creativity isn't a proper job, creativity doesn't pay, you're not creative, or even creativity is a waste of time. And when we hear all these sorts of things, they form into our own beliefs about what we can achieve and what we can do. Now, I hear from a lot of people that they think they're not creative. Not only are there different types of creativity, and as I said before, we're all born creative, and we all have our different talents and abilities. And sometimes that leads us to think that we have to have a natural ability or talent in a specific area, like being good with numbers, in order to be successful at something like being an accountant. But this isn't the case. As Henry Ford said, whether we think we can or whether we think we can't, either way we're right. So it all comes down to attitude and what we choose to believe. And when we look at people who've been successful in life, like say Tiger Woods, we can think that he was born with a gift of playing golf because he showed an ability from a very young age. Yet it's easy to forget that what really makes the difference is practice. Now, Tiger Woods didn't become an overnight sensation. It took him hours and hours of practice. In the same way, J.K. Rowling didn't become an overnight sensation as a writer. She too had spent hours and hours writing before she wrote the Harry Potter series. And Steve Jobs wasn't an inspiring presenter when he was young. He learned and practiced the techniques over and over until they became part of his comfort zone. So let's take a look at how we learn over at the board. Whilst we all have preferences and are stronger in some areas than others, we all have the ability to learn and grow. Now, when we're looking at this diagram, when we're in our comfort zone, we don't feel challenged and we don't have any unsettling thoughts. We feel comfortable just coasting along without questioning anything. However, we don't learn much in this area. And we can find people who operate in their comfort zone may say, I've got 12 years experience of doing something, when in actual fact what they've got is 1 year of experience replicated 12 times. There's not been any additional learning and all they've been doing is coasting along. Now, we learn most in our learning or stretch zone, and we feel enabled to work in that zone when we have a solid comfort base to draw upon. We'll also be aware of our boundaries for keeping us from entering into the panic zone, because on the whole we don't want to stray into that. So when we look at wanting to move from one way of thinking to another, we need to look at what we need to do to expand our comfort zone into the stretch zone. And what we might find is when we move from one zone to the other, that little critical voice that we all have in our heads will try and take over. And it could say things like, I can't do it. What makes me think that I can do that? Remember what happened when I tried X, Y and Z and it all failed? Now, those sort of thoughts are just our ego talking, and our ego is based in fear. So we can thank our feelings for trying to warn us and protect us, but know that we're safe and in the learning zone and fill our thoughts instead with positive affirmations like, I can do this, I feel my ideas are valued and accepted, I believe I have the ability and capacity to think creatively. Now, when we want to apply creative thinking on our professional lives, we have 4 things that we can draw upon. Firstly, we have our subject matter expertise, which is our business knowledge or our specialism. Then we have creative tools and techniques like you can learn working with me or being part of the Creative Academy. Then we need to strengthen our belief that we can do something, that we're capable, that we actually do have the talent and abilities to be able to make a difference. And lastly, we need the motivation to be able to put it all into practice. Creative thinking is fantastic for the creation of new ideas within a business environment. And we can often think that creativity is used for big, life and world-changing ideas. And yet thinking creatively is great in everyday situations, like finding a way to help your child to go to sleep at night on their own. Being able to create gives us competitive advantage, and that has always been the case for the human species. Being able to creatively solve problems is a reason why humans have been able to evolve like they have. So creativity is important. To find out more about how you can use your creativity to your advantage, then use the tools in my free resource library. Now, these provide great introductions into the creative journey, and the resources are growing all the time. Now, the other thing you can do is to make sure you're signed up to my mailing list. That way you'll hear when new resources are available and you'll get a chance to attend my webinars. Now, if you're interested in immersing yourself in a creative journey to discover the tools and techniques that you can use to reignite your creativity, then join me either on my online workshops or in my Creative Academy. In that you'll receive monthly videos, webinars, podcasts, visualizations and bonus material. However you choose to ignite your creativity, I hope your personal and professional life will be overflowing with creative ideas.